I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago, and I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Gary Webb. I am an investigative journalist, and in 1996, I wrote a series of stories entitled Dark Alliance, which was about CIA involvement in drug trafficking.
I knew a man who once said death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back.
We've both been skull and bone with the secret society. It's so secret we can't talk about it. What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go on.
Sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the rest.
Number 322.
I have duty to report this afternoon that my friend and colleague, Tim Russert, collapsed and died early this afternoon.
I may die in this cell tonight or in the arena tomorrow. I am a slave. What possible difference can I make?
And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
Fucks up. Welcome to another Already Dead, your weekly parapolitical call-in show. What it do? It has been a crazy week. As you can see, we are both a little disheveled from this week. I'm a little tired. You're a little tired.
I'm exhausted.
But yeah, it's been a wild week. I don't know if I'm supposed to continue my streak of calling for Pam Bondi to resign because I guess we're getting stuff. We're getting I think we're getting disclosure. So I guess just kidding. But
all those redacted documents, man. That is so fucking funny, right? The first thing was, well, I mean the step down, right, of the head of the field office in FBI as far as New York City, yeah.
Yeah, which we don't know much else. We know nothing other than he was forced to resign. So it's like I don't know. It could just be completely a political put on. We force some guy, and it kind of gives the illusion of he had something to do with something. Yeah.
Right. I looked. I just read briefly. I read like a short Fox News article about it this morning. It was interesting, but it seemed far more like the implication was he was clearly a political opponent of Trump and had been kind of, making sort of political statements in the past, like very recent past as well, in regard to just kind of publicly, calling into question Trump's authority in many ways as well, which goes to, in my mind, the first thing that I thought was of that video that we watched on the show last week, right? Of the wasn't that last week where it was that that Benny show, whatever the hell it was called.
Actually, real quick, let's just go ahead and watch the weekly dump because I'm pretty sure our boy actually put that in there. So I think the video in question has that in there. So people will be able to see him. I guess people have been kind of made a meme of this. I've seen a few people joking around about kind of how I said he was aggressively Jewish. So give me a second. Let me present this for you. Get this up. There we go. Boom. Here's that. So let's go ahead and watch this.
See it.
Father, we've come to devour the eyes of
for a signing ceremony and a meeting with Trump. Later on Tuesday, Trump said that Zelensky was expected to visit the White House on Friday. Golden Trump statues. No. He said elves visited him underground, whispering suggestions to complex computing problems. So he said his multiple shooters were at the July 4th Highland Park massacre bombshell, which I think I just saw something that said he pled guilty. But let's keep moving on. Research suggests too much. Did he shoot the sheriff but not the deputy though? That's a stupid reference.
Reaction.
Absolutely.
Like
there you go.
I'll give you a big one.
Yeah, I love that.
There you go. Well, I guess I thought it was long.
Grateful Dead. That's really more the case, I think. But this motherfucker right here, Klaus Schwab, he has.
If you want to improve population health, you have to take all of your healthcare data.
Exactly. My Jew accent, but he's like, oh, I'm just working in the office and I see these guys just deleting files.
Now we're going to be getting all of that money back plus a lot more.
I don't know what his financial business was, but I can be relatively.
I don't like that I hear people immediately go to the Clintons or Mossad.
That's so fucking funny.
You see DC Drano here, libs of TikTok, Adriana Chechik, or no, not Adriana. That's a porn star. Yeah, the letter Pam Bondi wrote. Okay, here's a letter. It says, "Dear Director Patel."
This one, oh, that's the fish one. Okay. We're never gonna talk about that.
Like he code switches around his homo buddies. Like, that's the feeling I get, but I might be wrong.
No.
Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States?
Mentioned the thing about Piglet since he didn't even show it, but here you go. You see Disney Cruise Line, St. Thomas and St. John excursions. And here you can see Splash Tackler and Family Adventures and Nature Adventures, 3.5 hours for $80. It's order for
say who, but you could guess who, because again, it's on background, which means I can't say who the person was, but we get the big box.
Man, what the hell is going on, brother? Hey, your own eyes with the algorithmic, artificially intelligent overlords that we're supposed to, submit to at every turn because their superiority as far as their intellect. I don't know.
Their sticker couldn't handle. What the fuck?
Force had told me where the documents were being kept. Southern District. It was bad for truck to meet with.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Then you, dude. You recognize that symbolism. You see it everywhere. Saturn worshipping Satanists are in control of the holiest place on earth.
Yeah, it just goes on. It finishes the Dutro thing. Hey, guys, I do want to remind you guys, if you haven't checked out my appearance on William Ramsey's show this week, go check it out. It's up on Rumble and on the audio podcatchers. He's not on YouTube, but we covered the Dutro thing, and I think I did a pretty good job. But yeah, that's the weekly dump. So just kind of a quick recap of all that we went through this week. So yeah. Oh, somebody's saying, oh, my bad. Volume's a little lower in the edit. I turned it down initially because it would start out with hardcore screamo, so I thought it was a little hardcore for you guys. My bad. I can try to keep that in mind and keep it on the higher end. But yeah, that's that. I just you guys saw. So you guys got to see the aggressively Jewish guy. That's who they chose to tell us. Oh, just kidding. The files are all disappearing. But guess what, guys? They're not disappearing anymore. Now there's a truckload of them, and they're here, and we're gonna drop them on Friday.
Friday morning.
Friday, because we need a big reveal.
Unfortunately, they will be redacted.
Yeah.
Considerably.
To be fair, I've seen people running around with the national security a little bit, but you played it on the show this morning where she was talking to, what was his name, Jesse Walters or whatever, and she said but he kind of pried it out of her. She didn't really, but I've seen people run around with that. Was it said elsewhere? Did she say elsewhere, like some more on that? Or is that the only statement and people are just running with that?
I'm not sure, honestly, man.
I mean, because to be fair, this is something that was like already to be expected, in my opinion. So like, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. That was my expectation from day one. But I went in with very low expectations, obviously, and from past experience, very much under the impression that anything that would come out, of any substance would be redacted. That is the nature of government disclosure.
Yeah, I mean, anytime there's any national security, anything, you can just assume it's redacted.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, obviously now to what degree they're interpreting that is another thing. But because I get people running with it now. If she said it unprovoked and like made a point of it, because I will say I've found it very fishy how much she has gone out of her way to always reiterate, oh yeah, we got to redact things for the victims, and she says it over and over again, like reminding you, almost as if they're like, you know, managing expectations type deal. And you're like, and we've talked before, you can kind of play the Jew game, the word game, and go, oh well, no, well technically this piece of information needs to be redacted because somehow this could lead you to learning X, Y, and Z, which could somehow maybe lead you to learn this about the victim. You know what I mean? Like they can play that game. But the national security one's obviously more vague, and it is kind of obviously the implications being like, what do you mean? What do you fucking mean, national security? So, yeah.
Especially knowing, you know, what constitutes, you know, the redaction under that approach of national security purposes being the reason. It's always typically, but I mean, it's hard not for. I would imagine that's just kind of commonplace anyway. Like anytime redactions take place, is that it would be like kind of just a more general way of explaining. It's a threat to national security, but it seems like a very wide umbrella is the point that I'm trying to make, right? It's anytime that it's convenient, it's a threat to national security, and that's really my main issue with this performance, which does seem like political theater, tossing around a political football. It very much does seem that way. It's a distraction, misdirection technique of some kind. I don't know. It's interesting to witness things happen. What's like taking place in regard to foreign policy in Ukraine and that proxy
question conflict. That's not really substantive at all. But I want your opinion because I know you were kind of a theater kid.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on JD Vance? I'm getting, and by that I mean, do you think he's gay?
Yeah.
I was watching his little tiff with Vance the other day, and I was like, as I'm watching, I'm getting a slight subtle undertone of gayness. Like he was like, I said on the show that I was like, I feel like he was like a theater kid that maybe also did some sports. Like he like kind of balanced it out, but he was gay. You know what I mean? Like, and he code switched with his like when he's hanging out with his girls and like his gay friends. You know what I mean? Like he's that, but. Then when he's around the dudes, he's like, "Hey guys, hey," like I get that feeling from him. And you come from the theater world, so I figured maybe I don't know, maybe he's a straight theater guy. Maybe I'm just maybe it's a theater that I smell on him.
That's so funny.
It's indistinguishable from gay.
Wow, fuck that. Well, yeah, as far as that's concerned, like he seems gay. That was my initial take from day one, but that came from what's the name of that book? Hillbilly Elegy, isn't that what it was
didn't he
called?
in that book there was like some weird bit about
he had
questioning his sexuality?
You ever suck a dick? Like that was basically what his grandma asked him or some shit.
Like I feel like we'd read this and we'd find out there was like this weird like coming of age like gay like part, and he's like and he probably just like, yeah, don't we all as men have this weird, you know, transformative period of time that we go through, don't we guys, don't we? Where we all think maybe we're gay.
Thanks for picking up on that. What the fuck, Jose?
Yeah, that was the joke. That was the joke.
Oh my god. But no, Tim Tuttle, dude, that's so fucking funny. Yeah, Peter Thiel only finances gay twinks. That's the only fucking way he does business.
It does seem like he's like creating a brothel of like his little homo friends that are all like running the world.
It truly does, man. But they all are like they have some sort of you know, obviously they're struggling with their acceptance of this lifestyle, so they're very clearly overcompensating in many ways. But yeah, it's been fucking killing me watching, just knowing JD Vance's connections to, you know, all the usual suspects involved with the Peter Thiel acolytes.
I still find his conversion story extremely bizarre in relation to Peter Thiel, which we've talked about in the show before, that he became Catholic as a result, and he was supposedly like this secular atheist type before, but he completely attributes his conversion to Thiel. And just so happens, like shortly around the time after he converts, that's when he starts running for office, and all of a sudden gets all this Peter Thiel money that just comes out of you know, he just liked my book. He's just whoops, he liked
Yeah.
my book.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's just par for the course.
Mhm.
And you know, all caught up in that the very same dragnet is like Mark Andreessen, right? And Google
Yep,
CEO
Mr.
Eric
Robotnik.
Schmidt.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the
Look at that
AI.
fucking noggin, dude. Every time I see him, I think Dr. Eggman or whatever. You know, fucking.
Yeah, seriously.
He just needs the mustache.
Honestly, man. And when he went on Rogan and he's promoting the AI government, you know, like that's something that should have caught everyone's eye and instantly raised a red flag for me, because that is the ultimate goal, you know, and that is what I've been very concerned with in regard to this current administration, is the pivot taking place to the technocracy, witnessing, you know, BlackRock just achieving their goal sets and their agenda benchmarks. And,
Wasn't it like 6 or something of the influencers in the Epstein thing were some sort of BlackRock cutout of some sort, like affiliated,
100%, man.
like social group or something, like as if they're like entering the narrative game.
Yeah.
Which I was listening to a William Ramsey episode recently. I forget what the topic was, but they were talking about if you look at the rise in you know, Sean Ryan's success, it really fucking hits. Like you look at his like numbers, just like boom, like right when he starts having like a slew of Blackwater guys on, like right around that time. And he's known for kind of being linked up with the Blackwater guys and doing some stuff here and there. And so it looks like almost as if they're like, I mean, he probably did somewhat genuinely get into the podcast game, or you know, started to kind of plant the seeds, and at some point they're just kind of like, all right, we're going to water this plant that like maybe we are already thrown the seed up for. Now we're going to water it. You know, then they come in, you know, they solidify you know, and then boom, you know, they start having their people come on. I don't know, you bought it, you do whatever you got to do to fucking blow up those numbers, and here you go, baby boy. So yeah.
Jesus, brother. That's so crazy to me, but that's exactly how you would flood the alternative media landscape, like we've been discussing recently. And it's very much what seems to be taking place, you know. And by the way, that was an initiative that's been in place, and especially more recently, as a goal from BlackRock specifically, to invade and infiltrate that alternative media landscape. And so I'm not at all shocked to witness a lot of these kind of like astroturfed platforms that come out of thin air but have this outrageous and extraordinary impact overnight. It just feels like a false flag, you know. And I don't know, man. It's usually my instincts don't lead me in the wrong direction. You know, when it boils down to kind of that pattern recognition, man. But when it feels deep in your bones, like this is definitely the case, and it's shares and it's sharing all the hallmarks, obviously, then yeah, it's very difficult for me to dismiss it as being a very plausible reality, especially considering we had just discussed Ian Carroll, and brother, I know he's like kind of, I don't know, he like puts things out and then he rehabs his image instantly afterward, like after the reaction takes place. It's like it's a strange method that I'm witnessing. I don't know, like I don't really follow his content that closely, but
yeah,
it's
that's the
flooding
thing.
all
I don't
my algorithms
follow
all the fucking time, man. I see his content.
Ian Carroll's one that I see people fed jacket a lot, and I kind of somewhat sort of get it, because it's like he blew up quick. I mean, I just sometimes feel like I get a flavor of cope for a certain administration people, or people we've already, you know, most of us in the political world already kind of wrote off as like, look at this guy, what the fuck? This guy clearly is
There are
compromised.
layers of misdirection, though.
But I don't know. He
You
also kind of comes off as this cheery guy too, and kind of always open-minded. So and I don't follow his content enough. So it's like, I don't know. But now there's other people out there that I'm a little bit more like far more suspect of, like the Benzes of the world and stuff. That I'm like,
oh yeah,
I don't know for certain. Obviously, I don't know, but I'm still like, that one's like that like, whoa, okay, like. Or the Cernos. That motherfucker glows like the fucking sun, dude. Like,
no
yeah.
question about it.
I mean, as I say frequently, He sucked off a tranny and wrote an article about it, in case you guys didn't know. That's all you need to know about this guy.
No doubt, man.
This is the person you're dealing with here.
And I don't mean to bring, like, honestly, I would be very open and willing to having a conversation with him. I'm just curious, man. It's very strange. I don't understand the instinct to, give demonic reptilian lizard people the benefit of the fucking doubt. That makes no sense to me. Like, what are we doing? Running a misdirection operation, even if it is, genuine and authentic. And this is just, I disagree. Hey, man, maybe that is the case, right? And I'm willing to admit that could potentially be the reality I'm facing here. I just struggle to accept that you could kind of like deal in some of the certain details that he seems to have been exposed to at this point and still come away with certain conclusions. It's very, very interesting to me, and something I can't really grapple with and understand.
Yeah. The only thing I can, like, sometimes these people who get still caught up in the political whirlwind, it's like they get in this, like, say with like an RFK, like if we're talking the context here of like an Ian Carroll or whatever the hell his name is. You kind of comes for like a RFK. He probably like thinks like, oh well, the logic in his head would be, oh, he has to play this game, so he's doing certain actions in order just to sneak by. Which that in and of itself, you're already now like, oh, now I have to take this person's word that like, oh no, I know all my behaviors like signal me not being on your side, but like take my word for it, wink, wink, wink. I'm totally on your side, just like behind the scenes. But like, even though I'm not actually doing those actions, like what I mean. Like but
is he working at Infowars
this is people.
Now?
I don't know.
He seems
I
to
think
have
he's
like
filled.
a
I think he's filled
recurring
in
gig over
before.
there.
So
Okay.
yeah, but I don't know. I see people play this game with politics, and they go, oh well, my guy, and there's actually a point to that. There is like, say with these like confirmation hearings and stuff. Yeah. A lot of these people, they really do kind of just have to say shit. Like if they say their actual, like we'll say with let's assume that her genuine take was being against the whole FISA stuff. She had to soften that to be able to get confirmed. I mean, if we are to assume that she does believe that, you kind of are in this place where, like, if you really do want to, like, you're not going to be able to get past with that action, like, with that stance. So you can lie about that stance and maybe be in a position you can make a difference. So it is kind of a Sophie's choice, and so you can kind of understand. But now you get wrapped up in this whole, like, oh no, like, now I got to trust all these people, and that's the problem. They're not trustworthy. These people aren't trustworthy. They're like, this kind of comes back on itself. Like, you're already like, these people are probably compromised or something. So it's like you're already in this circular, like, because they know, like the entity, the structure, the Leviathan itself knows that like there are good people out there in the world that probably, I mean, I say no, but it's just kind of almost a structural thing that are going to want to change things, and they're willing to do. Because I don't even necessarily find that to be immoral. I don't find it immoral to lie, to think if that's going to actually make things better. But the problem is that it tends not to. And I think the Leviathan itself kind of almost like has its like white blood cells. Like this is sort of what this blackmail and these sort of operations are. It's that like, oh no, you can't do that. And then, but then now you have these characters out there that fill that role that get people to think, oh, they're super secret on our team. You're like, no, that person got busted fucking banging a kid 12 years ago, and now they've been playing this role the whole time. And it's kind of almost tragic a little bit in a certain fucked up way, because it's like they actually likely probably are people that maybe had that position, and now they are professing their actual position, but they're in a position they really can't push it any further than that. Like I say, like a Bernie Sanders or something. Like every now and then you'll see him actually like push some like anti-war legislation or something. It's completely toothless, but you can tell. You get the feeling that he has these instincts and these beliefs. He just plays ball so much that, I mean, whatever there's card there is, they're playing on him. He just continues to come back to the table and play ball. You know what I mean? So
making a lot of money too.
Yeah.
And was he still involved in those private schools with his wife, and then just writing book after book, cashing in? That's what all those socialists do. But it's very interesting. It's kind of funny though you mentioned RFK Jr. because of course he's coming up in the context of not only pushing the MMR vaccines, right? He's also apparently today, right? He's just purely targeting and attacking free speech, in the using anti-Semitism as
RFK
the justification. Yeah, absolutely. And he's using HHS to do this on college campuses.
I did
It's
not see
fucking
this.
Crazy, dude.
Was this a Trump thing or an RFK thing?
This is an RFK Jr. thing, man. So listen to
How
this.
is this even within his purview?
Nuts. Listen to this. So RFK didn't just pen a massive or a missive expressing his opinion. He announced a new intergovernmental initiative, hilariously including Health and Human Services for some reason, to combat anti-Semitism on college campuses by using the coercive power of the state to punish free speech. So this is HHS. Let's see. ED and GSA announce additional measures to end anti-Semitic harassment on college campuses, and it's an executive order titled "Additional Measures to Combat Anti-Semitism." Check this out. It's kind of nuts. So. Measures will include a comprehensive review of federal contracts and grants given to institutions of higher education that are being investigated for dereliction of duties to curb or combat anti-Semitism, violence, and harassment. So this is a way you target and shut down any sort of anti-Israel protests. Oh my God, the left. We have to target and shut them down. When in reality, it's just a way to clearly, protect and defend the interests of the Israeli state who are committing.
I just don't understand how the Department of Health and Human Services in any way has anything to do with Columbia University's federal contracts.
No shit.
And in relation to civil rights, these are like all completely different topics all together. Like,
yeah,
how any of these bleed together is beyond me.
No, it's pretty fascinating to me. But as he tweeted, anti-Semitism, like racism, is a spiritual and moral malady that sickens societies and kills people with lethalities comparable to history's most deadly plagues. Said
no one's
HHS
ever been killed by racism. I promise. Literally, no one's ever been killed by racism.
That's what I'm fucking saying, man.
No, it's literally just I don't like you. That's all that racism means is I don't like you, and the reason being something to do with your race. That's all that it means.
Yep. But again,
no one's ever been killed by I don't like you.
Exactly.
I mean, you might decide to kill someone because you don't like them, but that's not the I don't like you's fault.
Right. I know, man. And but it's still like, considering this messaging coming from the source that it's coming from, it makes a lot of rational sense, honestly, and logically, just speaking, right? But still, I agree with you entirely as far as how the hell is HHS considered to have any sort of role to be involved in kind of policing free speech on university campuses domestically. Like, that alone is kind of a precedent-setting thing, I would imagine. I can't recall any historical precedent for this, but still something worthwhile as far as like something that occurred today, right? That clearly is coming off of the back of what he had recently also done, which is, as I had mentioned this morning,
the fucking is there anything new on that end, or they're still drafting up the hell plan, and that's where they're at?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So they're still in the same spot. There's still a stalemate. They're starving them out, seeing if anything changes, and if nothing changes, then now they're going to start killing them while they starve them. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and they just got, a replenishment of arms, bombs, I guess. Basically.
I don't think people appreciate how astounding this is. I mean, I guess it is kind of commonplace when you're dealing with Israel, but they quite literally announced to the world, I believe 2 days ago at this point, that, hey, we're going to, because, whatever, they framed it as like, oh, Hamas isn't like, a partner for peace here, which is complete bullshit. Right. It's actually Israel that's been at every turn been awful on so far as negotiating, not been a good faith actor. Mm-hmm. But either way, fuck, I forgot. Oh, where was I even getting at? I totally zoned out there. Fuck. What was it? Oh, damn it. I had a point. What was my point? I completely zoned out, completely blanked out. Anything new in the Beavis family? No, I haven't heard anything in the Beavis family.
The only thing that I have to say about that is there is something new on like the Israeli hostages front, right? And how that's kind of being leveraged at this moment. But still, it also is blowing up in the face of Netanyahu domestically in certain ways.
Sorry, I was just trying to make a point that it was literally a war crime, that they stop. They're what they're doing is the entire like in the entire fucking area of Gaza, nothing in it, nothing out. That's starving out entire people. That is
policy of
categorically a war crime. That is, I don't know. You can't like it's a collective punishment. It is like definitionally a war crime. Like and they just announced it to the world, and no one said shit. We didn't say shit. I mean, technically we didn't after the fact. I don't think make any sort of statements, but literally like just the day prior, we sent over $4 billion, and also like at that same time also made bunches of different statements about how we support them and whatever they decide to do. While given at that time, the context was we were aware they were very likely to continue hostilities. Not only that, Trump even signaled they should at some point. So they can't play this game of like, oh, we don't know. No, this is on you. This is on you. So
yeah, and think about how much the concept of allowable opinion has been pushed in the wrong direction during this conflict in general, and like that alone has consequences.
I had multiple people get upset with me. Yeah, like it wasn't even that big of a tweet. Like I put out a tweet that said, hey, just kind of just something along those lines, just to appreciate the fact that like they just announced this, and just like no one really like. It wasn't even really that hardcore, and I had like a couple people that were like, "Oh, I fucking like, oh, why do I even follow you?" Or like, I'm like, which I never get those. You're like, that's weird. Like it's weird that I get those. And it wasn't even like there wasn't even an argument. No, just like, oh, fuck you. And like I just pointed out it was a war crime. Like I didn't like. Like, are you okay with war crimes, or are you saying it's not a war crime?
I feel like any sort of criticism of the current administration or just the ideological preference of certain people, right, and who they've chosen to follow, they worship the right-wing God King, many people, all right? Very similar in ways to how the left worship their ideologues, right, the individuals that kind of represent the culture war in their minds. And so those are the people they bow the knee to and worship at the foot of. And so to me, it's just it's really unfortunate, honestly, man. Like just I don't understand how people can continue to behave in such a naive, childish manner in their psychology alone. Like I was mentioning this morning, it frustrates me because I don't understand how you've engaged with reality for such for such an extent of time, but yet you still have yet to contend with the true power paradigm and how it actually functions, behind the scenes and this clandestine, manner, which everyone, of course, labels as the deep state, which we allegedly are taking down the deep state, Jose. And this is why people get frustrated. If you mention anything that, casts a negative light on the right-wing God King or whatever their ideology and the representatives, are perpetuating in the media spotlight in public perception, man, they have knee-jerk, visceral reactions emotionally. They get very upset, and I just, if you call into question, their fundamental basic core values that they've yet to truly identify and understand themselves, it's testy ground. You know what I mean? Like you wander into a place where you might not be able to kind of, it's dangerous territory, right? That's all I'm saying. And it's sad to say that, because we should be able to just contend with reality itself and not play this team sport of the duality the black hat, white hat version of good versus evil. Because I think it's far more complicated and also far more sinister in nature as far as the true agenda overlying, as far as the benchmarks in place that despite the presidential administration and power in DC, we're meeting those fucking targeted benchmarks. It's taking place. And so, defend the window dressing as long as you need. For what reason? Maybe you're a member of a cult. You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely possible. No matter where you are politically.
Yeah, well, all right. This is we talked this morning, I believe. No, not this morning. It was yesterday morning. We one of our listeners found this stuff about the Cemex company, and we watched these couple weird little videos, and then they sent us over this article too. I thought it'd be cool to read this because I don't think you might not make it to tomorrow's morning dump. So I figured this would be kind of good. Also, I do want to remind people, me and Austin are now finally going on Tinfoil Hat tomorrow. We thought we were going on last week. There was a booking issue, so we are going tomorrow. So Jules did go on last week, so his episode should be dropping any day now on Tinfoil Hat. So, but I want to read this article real quick because I just, I don't know. There wasn't what we looked into. It was interesting on the show, but it was like, I don't know. It could be whatever. It was kind of hard to parse what we're looking at. So this will describe a little bit more. The most despicable crime on the face of the earth is child sex trafficking. This is Cemex ties child sex trafficking, by the way. And the global elite are involved in controlling the industry in every country. Has the Trump administration exposed the ties the Mexican cement and concrete business and child trafficking and its connections to various government officials? By the way, this is written in 2018, just for context. President Trump declared a state of emergency, allowing his administration to free the financial accounts of anyone involved in human trafficking, child porn, trafficking children from pedophilia, or human sacrifice. This includes politicians and state actors, current or former government officials, or a person acting for or on behalf of such an official. It sounds like Q stuff already, but now let's see where this goes. I don't know. There's America Out Loud News. Maybe this is super cute out. I don't know. 1 year ago, President Trump vowed to end the deplorable practice of human trafficking, responsible for supplying children to pedophiles across the world. The president appeared on camera amidst an expert group of anti-human traffickers, presumably advising the U.S. leader of how to handle the endemic problems, highlighting the most horrific crimes today of the sex trafficking of children. America's children and illegal immigrants is just the actual reason those in government are pushing so hard against Trump and illegal immigration.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. Get to the fucking... Okay, let's get... Where are we getting the Cemex shit? Get me the fucking Cemex shit. Stop with the fucking... Okay. Share... In order to provide the opportunity for children... They just... Let me see. The camp will be dismantled. Where the fuck is this... All right. Okay. According to Dave Hodges' report, the camp was discovered by a group associated with VOP. All right. Now we're at the camp because this is a camp. We found that one. Okay. Word is spreading like wildfire across Canada. The word is there on last count 20 sex trafficking camps being discovered in the Tucson area along the I-19 corridor in Valencia. Now they keep in mind this was back in 2018. So I don't know. Maybe this is legit, but we'll see. According to Dave Hodges' report, the camp was discovered by a group associated with VOP. We did watch that video, and there was that one. There was a group. So I don't know. VOP is a group that patrols the streets and tries to rescue veterans who are homeless, drug addicted, or impaired in some fashion. The VOP associated with reporting on the sex trafficking camp where children are ostensibly used and murdered has stated that they happened by chance into the discovery of this camp from intel that gathered from the street operations and the search for veterans at the campsite when evidence was found that implicated the site as a child sex trafficking site. In order to provide the opportunity for full transparency, the dismantling of the child sex camp is being postponed for 5 hours. Come out before then. What is this? It sounds like this is a Hodges report. The camp will be dismantled with a prison cell, all children's item, all physical evidence of human trafficking, receipts with dates, and bags of human waste collected and delivered to DHS once categorizing is completed.
Hey, hold on.
What's up?
This your mom just said in the private chat.
Huh?
What's up, your mom, by the way? That he said the site we're talking about is right next to a casino. And at the casino's front door, it apparently has the boy lover triangle symbol from Yeah. From the FBI records
No
that
way.
show how pedophiles communicate clandestinely. So that would make. He says he's gonna find it real quick.
How the fuck do you know that? What the
I don't
fuck?
fucking know, but that sounds amazing to me. So I would love to get that connection.
He
Let's
says,
see.
"Look into the concrete tunnel, the Jews in the tunnel." No way.
Right.
There's no way in fuck.
I already pulled that shit up.
Yeah,
I'm
you would say
trying. I'm
look into
trying to
that.
find something.
Okay, well, I don't know. Maybe this is more legit than I think.
I know, right?
mean,
I feel like sometimes there is some sort of, truth in between the lines in
Yeah.
regard to some of these very conspiratorial, but also they seem to be like, towing the partisan line in a certain way, and they always tend to fall on right wing, clearly, but often they seem to play that defense game as far as like protecting the current administration and certain people in power, but it's still there's quite often I find value in a lot of those posts. You know what I'm saying? This is
Mhm.
interesting though. Keep going, brother.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is super cute out. It's kind of I'm trying to like see what's like actually isn't just like President Trump's the greatest, and I think maybe these people are like, for example, outspoken critic of President Trump's wall, Mexico-based Cemex, as if the wall has something to do with any of this. I don't know. One of the world's largest suppliers of building materials company has been viewed as a potential beneficiary. Blah 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 blah. I'm just scrolling through here. An intricate plan was that the DOJ started investigations into Cemex in March of 2018, so there would be no children in the camp. Cemex is a glue to the entire child trafficking. This sounds like super cute out, dude. I'm sorry, whoever sent this to me. I'm scrolling through this now. The governor before Ducey was Jan Brewer. Most notable in the state of Arizona is a scandal about over 6,000 child abuse charges that went ignored. Maybe that's true. I'm not sure. Before Brewer, Janet Napolitano resigned her position as governor to join the Obama administration as Secretary of Homeland Security. I'm trying to think. I don't know. This seems like kind of like not much to me. This seems like, they're... Here we go. Now we're getting to some stuff. The Alliance Partnership. And okay, by joining the Alliance, okay, what is this? Let me see. I'm sorry. I'm back. Amid General Assembly of the UN meeting, Cemex officials signed an agreement to join the UN Foundation Global Alliance for Clean Cook Stoves. I mean, that doesn't sound like what. Okay. It's the public partnership seeks to protect the environment and improve local communities' quality of life by creating a global market for clean and efficient household cooking solutions. So it's some sort of public-private partnership, that sounds like they're saying. By joining the alliance, we will foster the adoption of cook stoves. I have a hard time believing this cook stoves thing, some sort of, but I guess whatever. Maybe it is some sort of cover. I don't know. This seems ridiculous to me. Launched in 2010 by then Secretary Clinton, the alliance eyes adoption of clean cook stoves and fuels in 100 million households globally by 2020. So I guess this was this cook stove thingamajig was tied in big with the Clinton Global Initiative is the implication here. It's 100 million. Cemex is $100 million donor to the Clinton Foundation. All right, now we're getting to the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Ties to Arizona corruption, Carlos Slim, Clinton Foundation, Clinton Global Initiative, Soros and Rothschilds. I mean, obviously take these guys' word for it. Cemex is also owned by Bronfman Rothschild. All right.
Shit.
There we go.
Dude. Yeah, so I was researching that Bronfman connection.
Mega group.
Yeah, and as far as, of course, it's mega group, definitely. But what I found interesting was that he had married in to, I forget his first name, but Charles Bronfman. I'm trying to remember his first name, but either way, he married into the Rothschild family, and so that's exactly why. It's a Bronfman Rothschild connection, because it's very much aristocratic in nature as far as how they kind of align themselves, and where you see that the representation of kind of that private intelligence network that seems to overlap with the secret fraternal organizations. They all behave in this dynastic family aristocratic manner, right, where they kind of like pursue these aligned marriages based on power dynamics and you know, familial connections as well, obviously play a factor. But yeah, it's very interesting. That doesn't surprise me at all, especially considering how the mega group and the Brahmins were deeply tied into kind of the new age framework of the United Nations that's perfectly in place to this day, you know, that they leverage to their advantage internationally as the global framework. So yeah,
it's a little
that they were
interesting. It's a little interesting. It says here that Cemex at this point, I guess, supposedly was actually under DOJ investigation. I'm assuming they don't know for what, but I mean, I know that doesn't mean it's for this. I think that's the implication here, that they could be being investigated for whatever this is. Yeah. I don't know if I'm not feeling. I mean, I'm interested. Let me see. Salinas is the son of the former president of Mexico. Who's the Salinas guy? Is he the who the fuck is Salinas? Where that even come up? It doesn't even say who the fuck he is. Is it the owner? Okay. All right. Well, I'm over this now already. This seems like Q shit to me. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'm all for if there's more here, but I was expecting more from that article. Now I feel stupid for showing this to you guys.
No. I think it was valuable. There's still an interesting connection there to the Brahmins, you know, as far as I'm concerned, and that alone, especially considering the Epstein connection happening right now, is worthwhile. But yeah, beyond that, brother, I know I've been like just deeply embedded in trying to understand this framework as far as the enterprise is concerned regarding, you know, unfortunately regarding snuff films. And so I've been on kind of this investigative path that's exposed various entities and organizations that are conducting these, you know, unfortunately are either facilitating the network or conducting the abuse themselves, or, you know, then sort of promoting and facilitating and distributing that abuse in some sort of fashion that would benefit the organization financially in many ways. And so, yeah, there's this Canadian film company that came up in the course of my research called Azov Films. And this was a Toronto-based film company founded by Brian Way. And the company was selling and streaming footage of naked children across 94 countries. And it had been marketing it as naturist films. So very much like exactly what was happening in the North Fox Island network. And the Spartacus network is what that really ties in with. And the 1982, I think, Elm Guest House affair, which is very interesting because it implicates all these, you know, aristocratic families and elite government officials in the UK, right? It's crazy stuff. But so I had mentioned before Project Spade, because it was this investigation that had been conducted into child pornography, and that's where this Azov Films connection surfaced, right? And that lasted approximately like 3 years, this investigation, and that it had ended inevitably with like 350 individuals being arrested, and 108 were arrested in Canada, 76 in the U.S., 164 arrests were made in other countries. Among those arrested were all of these different, you know, prominent individuals: doctors, school teachers, foster care workers, priests. It just perfectly fits the framework of how these abuse networks function, you know, kind of exploiting the foster care homes, and just like how many different times are we talking about boys' homes and or you know, Boys Town, I mean, or you know, the Kinkora, right, boys' home, and you just have all of these different examples, even Mother Teresa, which I had tweeted about, right, who has seemingly has direct ties in with definitely has been investigated and you know, accused of selling babies, right? And apparently there are many different, you know, child care facilities within the umbrella of her organization that have very much been deeply tied in with child trafficking. And it turns out she has like direct financial ties, not only to like Robert Maxwell, but it gets far more sinister than that. Like it turns out I found this Kathy O'Brien had tweeted something, and that's how it kind of came across my radar. And somebody had linked, I think maybe actually someone linked it to me in a tweet. I can't remember now, but either way, it was very interesting. And it basically shows Kathy O'Brien, right, which we already know has direct ties in with MK Ultra, Project Monarch, right, trauma-based mind control, implementing the altars and the DID, and so she says that Catholic orphanages must be investigated, including Boys Town in Nebraska, and the Mother Teresa Home for Infant Children, which she happened to open with Hillary Clinton June 19th, 1995 in Maryland. And so Epstein, of course, was in similar business as Mother Teresa. And so Mother Teresa was trafficking children and sending between $50 million to $100 million a year to the Vatican. And so was consistently sending this amount of financial, just as far as like storing that in the Vatican bank alone is very strange, but it's still so Mother Teresa has direct connections apparently to this Haitian dictator, and also Charles Keating, who's he's very much involved in the savings and loan crisis, and which of course consider Iran-Contra, and so you have Robert Maxwell, father of Ghislaine, of course, and he's directly tied in. Apparently, he provided $45 million to her organization, which he was convicted of fraud. And so, yeah, it seems like laundering money through an organization to me.
Through a charitable organization, a tax-free organization.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which seems to be the framework of how they function, right? Like considering.
By the way, real quick, I just want to let the audience know, the phone lines are open, 941-281-5857. Also, if you're a patron of me or Austin, we send out the StreamYard link every week, so that if you are a patron and you want to come on like in a video capability, I mean, you don't have to show your video. You can use it as like a call as well. But you can hop on and shoot the shit with us. For example, your mom, I see you back there. You're welcome to come on if you want to shoot the shit with us. Any one of you guys are patrons, you're welcome to hop on and hang out with us throughout the rest of the show. But with that, yeah, let's keep moving. Sorry, bud, didn't mean to cut you off. Back to Robert Maxwell.
Yeah. It just, it's extraordinary when you start to realize you trace these connections back, and it becomes undeniable in many ways. Yeah, someone call in for sure. We're always happy and willing to have a conversation. If anybody has any questions about some of the content that we cover as well, because I kind of think, or anything to add, man, like there's so much to the details involved in these cases that it's like I'm always willing to listen to a new thread of any sort of, even if it's allegations of baseless, I don't care. I'm willing to at least entertain it. But yeah, I mean, Mother Teresa, it very much seems like she had over 100 facilities all over the world, internationally, called Missionaries of Charity. And most of them were, Papist-run children's homes where millions of children happen to be abused and beaten and sodomized on a daily basis. And there's plenty of evidence proving all these allegations taking place of child trafficking allegations in these various facilities under this organization's umbrella, and as well as them funneling this fraudulent money, millions of dollars of this fraudulent money to the Vatican. And so you just have this Vatican bank recurring theme and consistent within this context. But it gets very strange because it seems like there's even a connection to potentially to some sort of paramilitary organization that falls in line with the layered operation happening in Italian Gladio. It's Austin's mind is a wall with red string, dude. It's like that fucking. It really is the Charlie meme, or it's that ridiculous picture from True Detective, right, where he's trying to piece together that board. That's what I feel like on a daily basis, because too often, brother, like the same names. If it weren't for the same names and organizations overlapping.
While I have you here, we've talked about kind of rounding out our notes, and one connection I've really wanted to make, and I saw someone throw this up before, is kind of the almost the eye of the Chickenhawk. I guess you could say the Elm Street, the I don't know, just that, or even you could even take it from the Gacy angle, or whatever angle. I know there were NATO or it might even be UN. It might not be NATO click-ins. So you can almost kind of make a sloppy tie-in for like kind of the theme of what our episode is. And I know we had kicked it back around a little bit. So I don't know. I'm particularly interested if you recall that where the angles where there's a, I don't know, there's fruitful ground there, on that, in that theme, in that way, if you get what I'm saying.
Right. In regard to which specifically like topic?
Just kind of that milieu, the fucking just the pedophile rings, and then connected into. I know just during that was like somewhere in the 70s and 90s, it was tied into like another. God, it's been so long since I read Eye of the Chickenhawk. I remember there was like weird deaths, like multiple deaths tied into like at the UN and shit. It's hard to keep track of all the different. What I know, you had been kind of. You had been swimming around this, and I assumed you'd probably honed in on that a little bit. So I know there's connections. I believe it's a Dean Coral that ties into Gacy. Dude. And Coral, I think, is the one that kind of ties in through all of these different ones.
Dean Coral, and I know, as you mentioned, the Elm Guest House as well. Because in 1982, there's a Metropolitan Police in Southwest London. They began surveilling a townhouse owned by this German couple named Haroon and Carol Kassir. And these proprietors of a suburban hotel called the Elm Guest House displayed a sign out front which read Spartacus Club, welcome. The house in Rocks Lane is in an Edwardian terrace with a small sign on the door saying Spartacus Club, welcome. It was empty yesterday.
Sounds
afternoon.
Really fucking cool. It's not really fucking cool.
No, dude.
Spartacus Club sounds like it'd be cool. Just dudes beating the shit out of each other or something,
Right.
Dudes being dudes. No, it's dudes fucking dudes. Well, boys, but yeah.
Yeah, and I mean it's an illegal brothel. The Elm Guest House was raided in June of 1982, and it was found to be providing guests with a menu of fetishes they could indulge in with boys as young as 10. So again, this is very fucking similar to Kinkora. It runs parallel with North Fox Island. I mean, my God, you consider North Fox Island, man, like that story alone. When you look at the what was an enterprise, obviously, but also
which was
a mailing
Coral
list.
was tied into that too, wasn't he?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So he's a little squirrely fuck that gets away. Gets all these little things that somehow just squirrels out. He's like Forrest Gumping it almost, but it's like far more dark than that. Like Forrest Gumping in the back, but while doing fucking awful things to children.
100%.
Like, he's just Forrest Gumping it in the background, just
and
through
that's why I
historical
think
events.
That's why I think we can draw so many direct lines into Gladio, right? And why I think people are kind of if they haven't, exposed themselves to a lot of our content, they might not be aware of kind of the way we utilize the term at this point, because it's far more than, these stay behind networks that were set up post World War II as sort of not Nazi rat lines to provide us, a clear and utter powerful footprint within the region for the Allied Entente. I mean, it's definitely not the case, and I think it was pivotal in setting up. Of course, we know, all the secret societal connections to as far as the loyalties of the members themselves in regard to who was involved in setting up Gladio and the stay behind networks. And so, I think that's where. If people do misunderstand how we reference Gladio, that's what it is, I think, in many ways. because they're not understanding how these, these private paramilitary organizations were utilized and exploited to create this destabilized environment. This environment of destabilization and chaos. This it was domestic gladio, and so now it's become this playbook that's been recycled over time. And so anyway, you already know this. I'm just mentioning this for other reasons, but essentially, North Fox Island, it had a mailing list, $300 to paid to the Shell Foundation or charity known as Brother Paul's, and they would be given 8mm film strips of child pornography filmed on North Fox Island for distribution, and that was so they wouldn't get clearly. So if any time at the post office or if they're private mailing service or whatever, any investigator would look to investigate the strip itself, they wouldn't be able to identify it as child pornography, and so they would allow it through. And so it was an end around in many ways. But yeah. Anyway, man, it's very interesting because this brothel where you could indulge in in various fetishes with these young boys, 23 guests were detained in 1982 during this raid, found occupying a suite of bedrooms festooned with whips, chains, and sex paraphernalia, and amongst communal areas such as a lounge bar, spa, and sauna facility, and a screening room for pornography. So this is the finders all over again as well, right? I mean, you have Ramon J. Martinez, U.S. Customs agent. He conducts, at least is involved in the as far as when the raid was conducted on the finders' properties in D.C. And man, I mean, what did they discover? They discovered piss and shit in jars along with blood as well, and they had an altar, and it looked like they had, velvet ropes. Essentially, they had a staged area for filming pornography. That is what all of the officials involved in the raid, that was their impression and understanding and interpretation of the crime scene. And so yeah, I mean, mind control manuals as well, same as Marc Dutroux. I mean, these organizations and networks behave so similarly, it's impossible to dismiss at face value. And so yeah, it was initially reported that according to police sources, 3 of the guests detained had been parliamentary ministers, and a fourth a member of the Queen's royal staff. These reports were swiftly walked back, however, in official statements made subsequently by authorities involved. Whoever these guests may have been, they were all released without charge, and soon after reporting on the incident ceased, possibly upon intervention by Attorney General Sir Michael Havers. The German proprietors Harun and Carol Kassir were charged for keeping a disorderly house and possession and production of child pornography. The latter charges were dropped in 1983 after over 7 hours of video footage seized as evidence from the Elm Guest House was ruled inadmissible in court. So it gets far more obvious as far as the cover-up is concerned in regard to Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and her office being involved with covering up this VIP pedophile ring, which, when have we seen this before? Kinkora scandal all day long. That is exactly what took place there.
By the way, we got a follow up from from your mom. I think our patrons have lost their mind. Lower right logo he shows here. So he found a thing. You'll see. Look, I think. Come on, cut it out. It's literally a diamond. Come on, man. Oh, come on, stop it. It's in the. Oh, I see what you're talking about. And you have like the diamonds below it, like right. You can almost see like a little.
Yeah.
That's. Come on, man.
Tough, yeah.
Come on.
No, I know, man.
Come on. We're getting too schizo here. That's this. I mean, yes, I guess there's a triangle and there's a slight geographical kind of swirl design. I thought at first, he was talking about the diamond, and I was like, come on, dude, you've lost your fucking mind. You're looking for things.
Ooh,
now.
I don't know. The triangle, brother.
That's what I'm talking about. The triangle's right down here.
The triangle is fucking It's just so similar though. But
Yeah, I
it
guess that
definitely isn't.
is.
It definitely isn't the little boy lover logo, which is,
Yeah,
you
but I
know,
mean, it kind of is because it's a swirl within
Jose is
it. If
not
you think about
convinced.
it,
LOL.
look now the more I think about it, like, because it is like, look, it's a little swirl inside of it. So that is like if you're trying to make a
It
neat little
looks
logo
fucking spot
geographical
on.
design.
No, you're right.
That
You're
is
right.
there's a swirl version of it.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
that these symbols haven't come up naturally, you know, in the context of,
Yeah.
you know, creating symbols for your
Yeah.
for logo advertisements or, you know,
Seems a
any sort of
stretch.
yeah, but damn it, man. Like that's definitely that's it. You know, as far as I'm concerned, it's just for sure not the little boy lover version. You know what I mean? I think
Mhm.
if
Yeah, someone's
it's
saying it's a new Mexican pattern. You're right. That is also like
it's the new
like a
Mexican
Tex-Mex, you know, whatever, like type of like the little like textile type style. Yeah, but
stupid.
it's also kind of looks like the triangle. I don't know. That's pushing it. But okay, your mom's saying it says, bro, it's a fucking casino right next to a child trafficking site, though. I mean,
Right.
I
That
guess,
is
I mean, a
very
casino
suspect.
next to a cement thing, and then there is a little bit of a little, I guess, you know, a sort of, you know, pedo triangle in that logo, sort of. So I don't know. Maybe they're saying the quiet part out loud. Maybe it is a little sus. I don't know.
It's definitely a logo. It's a symbol that could go very
Mhm.
well unnoticed. You know,
Yeah.
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
Right? And
I
so
would say, like, if you're someone who's about that life, you should probably, like, maybe not go to. I wouldn't bust through that company and be like, all right, where's the kids? Where are they at?
right.
They might be
Dude, at
like,
this
whoa, whoa,
point,
whoa, you misunderstand. That was just the design choice. We're not.
Mhm.
That's not the. No. You're gonna have to find the other elite pedophiles elsewhere.
oh my god. Stupid, man.
Yeah.
No, I still think that I don't know. It's very difficult to dismiss entirely because at least by now, it's very much in public circulation as far as the understanding and acknowledgement of this symbol and its direct connection to how they you know communicate in this covert manner. So if you were attempting to remain in the same paradigm of communication without having to overhaul your symbology, then maybe you would have to be a little bit more delicate in the way that you represent that symbology. And I'm doing my best, Jose. Give me a fucking
No.
break,
I'm
man.
sorry. I'm actually laughing at something entirely different.
Okay, all
Literally,
right.
as you're talking, Doctori420, you know, a follower of the show,
Uh-huh.
tagged me on Twitter. So I wasn't surfing Twitter. I think I was on there because I just had one of the other things up, and he just happened to tag me. And apparently, we have a story going out about Luigi Mangioni's sex tapes. And I guess he
Dude,
supposedly filmed
he's
at
a
least
sex symbol right
20
now.
porn videos he
Oh
wanted to be
shit!
watched. So
You're gonna have a
I'm
lot
gonna
of
cover this.
females
I'm
very
gonna cover this
excited right now.
tomorrow. So we'll probably cover this tomorrow on the show as if this is actual news. I'm sure the female
Right.
listeners, the two of you guys out there, will probably appreciate it. So
For real. That's
none of the
hilarious.
gays. I could
Slinging
probably got a couple
Dawn.
gays that watch. A couple cool gays. Yeah.
Oh
All right.
man,
Sorry,
that
I
is
was being
just
stupid.
yeah. It's so funny to me that he's basically become a sort of sex icon in various ways on the left, especially. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, all this ties into the Odyssey network, man. And so you have the Odyssey Foundation. So you have the Spartacus network directly overlapping with the Odyssey Foundation, and this was a
Which most of
series
this is
of
all just rebrands of the same exact fucking thing.
yeah,
So,
exactly. Because man, they directly tie in with North Fox. So, you know, and that of course, what does that tie in with? Not only the Son of Sam killings and the Interstate 9094 killings that were being investigated all through that line of it was like three different. Well, they traced them all the way to the West Coast actually, but it's still very interesting because you go and find out that the connection to the paperboy fetish, right? So the Johnny Gosch connection, which brings in the Franklin scandal, you know, and that ties in the Jacob Wetterling case, which was again apparently an abduction it was a new attempt at a prior abduction gone wrong. And so they wanted to make sure they got their target, and their target was a paper boy because there was a fetish that had been ordered specifically. And that is the reason that these various paper boys went missing around this same exact time during the Oakland County child killings. But yeah, it gets interesting because during the 70s and 80s, there are these series of mass child murders in cities across the U.S., and these are attributed to the motiveless crimes of serial killers. Now, what does that sound like? It sounds very much like the process and what happened with the Son of Sam case in The Ultimate Evil, right? Where you have these serial killers like David Berkowitz, Henry Lee Lucas, blamed for all these mass killings, when in reality they're a part of a network and an organization and a group who are conducting these either ritualistic killings or just flat out executions and targeted assassinations, which were very much involved in a lot of like the clandestine black ops that were being conducted at like those paramilitary black sites that we've mentioned before, involved with, let's say, what Henry Lee Lucas claimed in like Louisiana and shit with the Hand of Death cult. Exactly. Tim Tuttle's, he knows what's up. But so motiveless crimes, right? That's what they were branded as by these serial killers. And so you have kind of members of the network, including these elite, powerful individuals, and operations were covered up by the institutions and the higher ups involved at the U.S. State Department, which is typical fashion. So Houston, Texas, 1973, a man named Dean Corll is found dead, right? And this is when this story breaks to the public and exposes a vast network of what seemingly, I mean, it's not seemingly, it's legitimately there's evidentiary proof of these snuff killings and really a well-established network of that was really distributing a lot of this child pornography at the time. But so it's interesting because it was August 8th, 1973, and there's a 17-year-old named Elmer Wayne Henley, and he called Pasadena PD in Houston, Texas, and he reports being shot and killed, or that he had shot and killed a man at 2020 Lamar Drive. So the police arrived at the address. They discovered the bullet-ridden body of this 33-year-old man named Dean Corll lying naked in the hallway of his Pasadena bungalow. Henley had been waiting for police out front of the property with two of his friends, 20-year-old Timothy Cordell Curley and 15-year-old Rhonda Louise Williams. Here we go. I'll present this real quick and share so we can kind of conduct our own investigation. Is it okay to show this? That's Dean Corll's body.
I mean, I don't know. Too late now.
Oh shit! I'm sorry, dude. I'm not. I mean, it's in the
just a butt.
documents.
It's
in the documents, so it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But so there are three statements which were more or less all aligned. Henley had invited his two friends over to Dean Corll's house for a paint sniffing party. They passed out, and at some point, Corll had tied the three of them up and started to rape Henley's friend Curley. Henley had convinced Corll to untie him so he could do the same to Rhonda, after which Henley had managed to get a hold of a gun he used to shoot and kill Corll. He had then untied the other two and called the police. Police had found sprawled across the floor of the bungalow's living area a sheet roll of polyethylene plastic beneath and a large plywood torture board with holes in each corner fitted with rope and handcuffs. Various sex toys and torture devices were found around the house, such as double-ended dildo, glass rods, and a hunting knife.
Yep. This kid was essentially doing this. I believe the kid, if I recall correctly, was doing this with him other times. This was just the time he snapped. I think it was because he tried to bring his friends into it or something. So he fucking was like, fuck you. But he had already assisted him in doing this multiple times prior.
Exactly. And helped him procure other children. He was getting paid by him but like a legitimate lucrative amount. I can't remember. It wasn't lucrative enough to be conducting such behavior, but you know, still, it's just like it's interesting if you're kind of like a wayward child. You know, you're young. You're. This is very much in the context of how I heard. You know, one of the MK Ultra survivors of Project Monarch who claimed that they were abused by Larry King, and yeah, they said it was very similar, you know, and as how they were kind of seduced into the network and groomed into participating, right, and and procuring for the network itself. But yeah, anyway, Wayne Henley
turned up 17 boys they found.
Yeah, man. Isn't that insane?
That's nuts.
I mean, bodies of 17 boys aged between 13 and 19 who'd been reported missing over the past 3 years. It's just, it's honestly, I mean, the boat
This
shed
is the guy that was he the one who was staying at Gacy's place while he was gone?
Dude.
So he's the dude who was staying at Gacy's place while he was gone. Was he the helper, or was he or was he the overling of the helper? Because I know I forget the name, but Gacy had like a little helper guy that lived with him for a while. Right. That I believe was at one point the underling of me. I want to say it was Coral, but I might be wrong there. So yeah, I think that's right. The connection. And then Coral, I believe, is provably was there when Gacy wasn't there. And there's a lot that leads one to believe that if he was there when Gacy was in prison, that he also probably was there times when Gacy was not, obviously. So that these guys are clicked in. So probably part of a larger, which you mean one of the most famous things that's always brought up with the Gacy things, these photos of him like with these political figures and the circles he was swimming in. They try to act like, oh, it's so weird, like, oh, he's just like one of the people in the neighborhood, and he was even in the political like scene. Oh, it's like, oh, how weird is that? Like, and you're like, no one is like, dude, this guy was fucking like hobnobbing with the fucking like Reagan, and there was like photos of his wife, and like, I mean, he was a political player, and they try to like write it off as just like, oh, I don't know. I feel like if you think about that, you're like, what does that mean if this guy got to where he was? I don't know. I guess maybe he could just be someone who.
It's the same exact thing as Craig Spence, like, you know, arranging the midnight tours for the Call Boys and the Confessions of a DC Madam, the White House tours. You know, it's like, and the same with Larry King, right? Singing the national anthem at the Republican National Convention. Like, these people were deeply tied in. I mean, Epstein, right? This is a recycled playbook. We're witnessing the same narrative just play out over and over in real time, and with different personalities attached, and we act as if it's an entirely different situation. But in reality, it very much seems as if they, you know, this is definitely an overlapping, you know, correctly outside of Gacy's Masonic connections. He had at least 3 roommates that knew what he was doing. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I mean,
which is bizarre. He had roommates because he was married, Gacy. So it's like, this makes it even weirder that he has like roommates.
Now, wasn't Gacy gay? I'm trying to remember which one.
Well, that was the thing. Gacy was the one that was picking up. I think if we look into it, it actually was they were a lot younger than. Like, I think like when we hear documentaries and stuff, they make it sound like he was like, oh, you know, 18, 19, 20, early 20s, you know, boys he was picking up off the streets. But it looks like it was like, I mean, not like, you know, under 12, so it's still in the pederast range, but it looked like there was implications that there was fairly young ones. So, yes, he was getting young boys, and he was basically raping them and killing them. And he was doing the thing where he like would kind of do the S&M like bondage, and then they would like kind of have something wrapped on their head, and then kind of like put a stick in the thing, and then just kind of turn it to where it like tightened and cut off the circulation, and you kind of just you passed out. So yeah.
That's so fucked up, man. I just, my God, you look at some of these people who were involved, it's very much like the Dutroux network, right? As far as they wear their guilt. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, yeah, he dressed up as like a clown, too, which is, yeah.
I think And I was just looking at a direct connection to Madeleine McCann, right? And how basically her disappearance, that she was procured in a pedophile ring in my mind, or sacrificed that night. I'm not certain. I have to do the deep dive here, but I know that Madeleine McCann was definitely connected to her abduction to the Belgian elite pedophile ring. So it's in my mind that draws into place all the known networks that we're discussing in regard to Dutroux and yeah. As far as like the Epstein documents and everything with the Podestas, like it's fascinating to me that they avoid any criticism whatsoever in the public spotlight. Like it should be a priority of everyone.
Isn't it crazy to look back at? And this whole Russia thing started over, if I recall correctly, maybe I got this wrong, but I'm pretty sure the Russia thing started over the Pizzagate stuff, because the leaks came and they blamed it on Russia, even though it was actually likely Seth Rich, which we didn't get information on that. But so they released that information. Seth Rich dies, but then it goes, oh, Russian leaks, even though it wasn't all Russian leaks. So even the Russia story is kind of a twisting of the narrative of what is some crazy fucked up shit. So
absolutely.
Which is par for the course. Yeah.
I think his murder, Seth Rich, I think it was directly tied into, they had to utilize it as a tool to kind of, like, really, in order to cover up the true primary motive, I think, behind Seth Rich's death, which was clearly that he had the Podesta emails and the leaks. And he had just pulled a huge wide net when he used that thumb drive. He didn't give a fuck. He just pulled it all and tried to download as much as he could. And he didn't know exactly what he had, but he knew what he had was a smoking gun in certain ways, and then at least certain things. But I think his priorities were different. But either way, I do need to look further into his family connections, because I'm curious to know if there's any additional, at least
Gacy,
yeah. Well, with Seth Rich, I'm curious to know about his family. No, you're good, because I just want to know if there were any other potential motives for why he would have pulled such a wide net of data. But I think it was just natural, because that's what people do when they try and use thumb drives to in that fashion. I mean, that's exactly what you would do. You would just try and pull as many documents as possible at the time, and then get out of there. And then he had tried to provide like various safeguards that he implemented for himself. He had given the data and information to certain people. He had kind of shopped it around. This is what Seymour Hersh knew at the time, which I thought was interesting, because he was kind of talking about how, this was before Bill Binney and the veteran intelligence professionals for sanity came out with their statements. That all happened in a memo in 2016. But yeah, it's interesting, because in my mind, it was all about John Podesta's email getting hacked and his direct connection into the DC network. Because again, this was all during the aftermath of the Haitian scandal. So there were a lot of people who were aware of what was being conducted as far as exploiting Haiti in such a deliberate fashion. And I think, by the way, Mother Teresa has a very large footprint in exploiting Haiti for quite some time prior to this as well. So it again, it falls perfectly in place. Yeah, exactly, man.
Yeah.
I mean, but this is why Jimmy Savile and his primary strategy was looting the care homes, the child care homes. And he was taking children to Lord Mountbatten and the Anglo-Irish Vice Ring, and they were just dropping them in the ocean after they, raped them to death. I mean, honestly, that's what was happening. And no one was asking about their well-being. No one was following through with any real investigation, and the people who ran the care homes were compromised. So what do you fucking do then? I mean, imagine being that vulnerable, and this is what, and then you're not only considered a hero in the public eye, but Mother Teresa is a saint. She's fucking worshipped, basically, and people view her as like, I remember something my mom would say for the longest time. She, just the general impression of what she was supposed to represent is like, I idolize the moral values
what are
of
you,
a
Mother
Mother Teresa
Teresa?
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But
what
in
are you, some
reality,
Mother
it's like the
Teresa? Yeah.
antithesis, man. She's a fucking monster. And why would we be shocked? That is the paradigm we exist in, man.
Yeah. I see Elliot James asking, is Frazzledrape real? Yes. All right. Tim
Move
Tuttle
on.
saying, considering Julian Assange's occultic upbringing, how legit can the WikiLeaks be? That is a good point. It's funny, Helper says, oh no, Mother Teresa has her own rabbit hole. It's like, well, hell, even the rabbit holes of, the information have rabbit holes. Because it's like, we get to the point where you're like, oh, we have all this information. These leaks have come from WikiLeaks. And it's like, well, what if I was to tell you there's a chance all of that was carefully orchestrated by the CIA or something to give you the impression that you're actually getting information. Meanwhile, it's just a carefully curated drip of information that comes out at the rate at which they want to do it. That is, I'm not saying I believe that to be the case. I don't know. I just know that is one out there, and there are a lot of people that throw a lot into some of the weirdness of Julian and other things. I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I just know there's a weirdness there. And that's one of those ones that like you get to, I don't know, that's like philosophy when you get to the point where you're like, how do I know what's real is real? How do I know? Maybe my senses are lying to me. Maybe I'm a brain in a vat. You're like, fuck, where do I even start?
Exactly. That's why when I did the Julian Assange episode, like in hindsight, I would have provided that chapter of his growing up in this strange cult that resembles all the same techniques of a mind control experiment, connections to NATO, connections to Australian intelligence. And that was very interesting to me, especially knowing the Nicole Kidman connection there, right, with just Anthony Kidman and his involvement, as far as I know, with Julian Assange faced over 50 years hard time the first time he got busted hacking. He served a little time, probably made a deal. Then, yeah, exactly. Yeah, he said he was a precedent-setting operation if he was, compromised and controlled op. And I wouldn't be surprised at all, especially like seeing as how he kind of like ushered through the what was it called? The ethical hacking. There was a term for it. I forget what it was, but yeah, it was like this morality complex that he was kind of implementing as far as the public was concerned in his approach to kind of hacking these government institutions or whatever and providing accountability to the public. It would be a perfect psyop in many ways. So if he were. And you look at the platinum blonde hair that all the cult members were forced to wear I forget the name of the woman. They called her the Mother or some shit. And she had platinum blonde hair as well. And
Mother, the Lady of Light?
Yeah. It's very interesting. I'm telling you,
Which
man.
I don't know. I'm sure you know that the Chris Bledsoe and some of the other weird New Age UFO shit.
Dude, oh my God.
By the way, someone's asking about Gene Hackman. You talked about it a little bit this morning. I haven't really... I don't know what I think about it yet. I haven't really looked into it enough. Austin, you want to let people know where they can find you, and we'll go ahead and get out of here. Me and you will do another tinfoil hat tomorrow. We're gonna fucking kill it. Oh, I did see you guys talking about how you like the new logo in the chat. I do want to let you guys know. If you do dig that, you can buy some of the merch over at toplobster.com. You can just go to toplobster.com. You can go to the brands. You can see Already Dead, and under that brand, you get... there's Already Dead, the new and the old, and he's kind of got like a retro one. His Operation Gladio shirt, No Way Jose. Then he's also a Yiki, and the Trenadu shirts are back now too. That's where they're at. So I know a lot of people talking about liking that, liking the new logo. Well, here it is. Yeah, I know. I also saw someone that was pointing out, they're like, oh, I guess that the Grateful Dead have like Masonic connections or something.
Oh,
and
dude.
someone was saying, "Oh, that's a bad look," and I'm like, for one, like I don't even know shit about the Grateful Dead, so like
MK
non-intentional.
Ultra all day long. Timothy Leary,
Yeah,
directly tied in with that sort of new ageism that was happening at the time,
Yeah.
which was very much the rage in the Laurel Canyon scene style of things. So yes, but guess what? We're taking it back, motherfucker.
Exactly.
Same as the
Which is like,
conspiracy theorist label.
yeah, even if it is like, let's say it is symbolic, it's Masonic, it's whatever, it's like like literally like in the middle of the head is a Gladio thing. I don't like Gladio either. The idea is that it's a bad thing. We don't like it. It's no bueno. So like, yeah, we're taking it back. It's like, I mean, it's the idea already dead. Here's a kill squad, a symbol for a kill squad. There you go.
The
So there you
point
go.
that I was making, Helper
Yeah.
Crow, is that exactly the CIA gave them LSD, bro. That's my fucking point. It's legitimately the orange sunshine acid that was provided with the special compound that was created for this purpose. It was all kind of explained in certain ways.
Grateful Dead is a David McCowan LSD op. It's now our skull. Fuck around, find out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
man.
fuck you, faggots. It's ours now. you fucking fake fed music nerds.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, all right. Austin, let people know where they can find you at. And I guess it'll be me tomorrow at 10 a.m. And then, you will sometime over the course of the next week or two, there should be a tinfoil hat of ours dropping. So
I'm excited.
Taking Porch Monkey back, baby. I never let it go.
Never. Yeah, guys, just support the Underclass podcast if you can. Definitely support the Patreon. That's my goal right now, is to kind of continue to grow the Patreon and drive people there as much as possible. But yeah, beyond that, nothing but love, all of you, for sure. I appreciate everybody here.
Well, hell yeah. For those who want to support what I'm doing and what we're doing over here, just and you don't want to chip in a buck. I get it. Not everyone's in a position to do that. But one way you can do that is by liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting. Simple actions like that help out a lot. Leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, or that is Apple Podcasts, as I'm retarded, but we're Spotify. Also you can, if you do, I totally forgot to do an ad read, so this works out too. You can get a razor. Use Jose at checkout and get 10% off. I highly recommend this product. It's way better than those multi-blade cartridges. This is the way to go for shaving, in my opinion. Cheaper, it's better for your skin, better shave. It's kind of all together. It's from a company that doesn't hate your guts. It's a kind of a no-brainer. But if you do really, really want to support the show and you are able to afford to chip in a buck or two, then patreon.com/nowayjose2020. The lowest level is $2. That's where you get the early access to episodes. I'm shooting for 2 a week these days, at least one. 1 to 2. So like right now I have a false memory syndrome, and also I also have a True Detective season 1 analysis episode behind the paywall, both of which if you were a patron you would have access to right now. Also have ad-free RSS feed that you can get access to there. Also can be a talking head on this show that we're doing right now. That's where you get the link for it at the $2 level. The highest level is my sponsors. I read them off every episode. My co-host on Tower Gang at Tower Gang Toad. Also have at Abrogate D's at ZOVRACK at _Infinzeal. Then Tim Tuttle at Jolly on Klebold. Then Will Bell's Delicious Blueberry Rabbit Eye Wine. Then big fan of the show, Torin May. Then at INWARDLOVER. And with that, we're out of here, guys. Appreciate when you showed up. You show up tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern. I'll be here and we'll be shooting the shit. With that, we're out of here. Bye-bye.